Hello, Dr. Perrella.
Hello, Dr. Arbeitman.
Hello to our chiropractic
Yes.
family.
Yes.
This is our second episode of Inside Out, where we have conversations about health and healing. And we want to go deeper into what the patient experience is inside their body so that they can get the best results possible and a deeper understanding of the breadth of their chiropractic care. Because on the surface, for many patients, it may just seem that they go to the chiropractor for their neck and their back.
Right.
And I can understand why they think that, right? Like, we're taking care of their spine, and so it would make sense that the dentist is taking care of their teeth and they're taking care of the teeth.
Right.
But inside the spine, the difference is inside the spine is their life. Their literally their mind-body connection is inside the spine. It's called the spinal cord. And the spinal cord, as you well know, connects the brain to the body, and every movement we make goes, the messages come from our brain down our spinal cord. Everything we feel filters up through the spinal cord to the brain. Every emotion we have comes out of the spinal cord and hits the limbic system. And our ability to relate to the outside world depends on the brain and spinal cord connection. And every organ function, from our cholesterol to our heart to our lungs to our liver to our spleen, everything is going to hinge on the channel being open and nothing being interfered with. So what we want to talk about in today's podcast or episode is the principle of time. Doc, I got an adjustment. Why aren't I better yet? Doc, when's my healing going to show up? Why don't you speak to, there's 33 chiropractic principles, and there's the principle of time that all processes, all biological processes take time.
Right.
I mean, it takes 9 to 10 months to make a baby. You can't make a baby in 4.
Right.
It takes 15 minutes to cook pasta.
Right.
You can't do it in 7, right? Yeah. So how much time does it take for a human being to heal from ABC or XYZ?
No, great question, right? Great question. I think it's bi-directional. And what I mean by that is the understanding that what they've been through since the day they were born to the time they come into our office, time has, there have been things in time, events in time, whether those events are physical, emotional, chemical, spiritual, that have developed in the person and is, part of their personality, part of who they are, and has led them to this point in life. And I think that's a real important concept for the patient to understand, that sure, the symptom brings them in, and we know that, and we validate that, we understand they're in pain, or they have a condition, they have an illness, they have some sort of disease, and we get that. To understand that every event in their life that has happened has led them to this point. And this is the state that their body is in. And as you said, this is held within their brain, held within their spinal cord. It's what we call the subluxated state. And I've often talked about this, that we have changed really as a profession with, things like video MRI and your PET scans, in which we're seeing that subluxation is not just this bone that's out of place at all. To your point, we just realign that and everything is great. But instead, it is an accumulation of tension and stress within the spinal cord and the brain itself. And then it's a body, a person that's under stress. And one of the beautiful things that we really love about chiropractic is that we're looking at people. We're not looking at symptoms. We understand that it's there. But we look beyond that and say, okay, things have happened in this person's life to bring them to this point. And so again, to your point, Dr. A, it's what's it going to take to get them well? Well, if you have somebody that for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, this has been the buildup in their system, of course, it's not going to be 1 or 2 adjustments to correct that. And it's an understanding really on the patient's part that, oh, wait a minute, life has brought me to this point. And that's why we use the expression of clearing out of the subluxated state, and that it takes time. It takes place over time, because we just can't unwind the entire person's life in one visit. We can't do that in 1 or 2 visits. And it's the concept of the patient getting that they have to release all this damage that has led to this point. And that's what we're doing with the adjustment. And it's no different than going to the gym or losing weight. You're not going to eat 3 or 4 meals and say, wow, why didn't it all come off? You know, it's several months. Or going to the gym to get in shape, it's several months. And even longer, sometimes years. I know even in my own life, there were problems I had that took years to resolve with the adjusting. But the beauty of it is that, and the thing I really enjoy, that we really enjoy with chiropractic and adjusting people, is this experience they get from the inside out of healing, right? Nothing gives us greater joy than when a patient says, I feel myself healing. Right? I feel there's that connection with that internal energy, that power, that innate intelligence that we say in chiropractic that creates all healing. It's keeping our bodies functioning, right? We go through our day, we don't have to think about our heart beating or our lungs breathing or our food digesting or turning it into all the trillions of cells that are in our body. That's done automatically. Subluxation, the subluxated state interferes with that process. And so understanding, it's almost a breaking of denial in the sense that to understand that, you know, everything has led to this point in your life, but the joy is that we can unwind that, we can release that if we open up to our own healing journey and our own healing experience.
Well said. Brought up a lot of things in my mind as I was listening to you speak, and the first is it's accumulative stress. Yeah. It's an accumulation of stress, is what I'm trying to say. So by the time we meet somebody, well, it's kind of like if somebody needs a root canal, which dessert was it?
Right. Yeah.
Which meal was it? It was a lifetime of decay on that tooth. Right. Or let's say someone isn't symptomatic, and then all of a sudden one day they feel a tingle down their arm, or a tightening in their jaw, or their feet are going numb. And so they go to their cardiologist or they go to their medical doctor and they run a bunch of tests and they go, oh my God, you've got severe plaquing in one of your arteries in your heart and your blood sugar is so high. And the patient goes, well, I didn't feel it. It just started like this weekend. So that's the same thing with the subluxation. It's there for years, silent, before it actually becomes a symptom. And then from a patient perspective, it's like, no, it just started last week. No. Based on your x-ray, by the time you see degeneration on an x-ray or an MRI, it's been there for at least 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't show up very quickly.
Right.
And so there is a process that got the person to the point where they became symptomatic. And then there's a process to unwind all that. So using my example, if we have that same patient that now just found out that you're diabetic and that they have atherosclerosis and they had no idea, and they hire a nutritionist and a personal trainer, and they go, I need to get my blood sugar and my cholesterol and my weight under control, and they go for 3 workouts and they show up on Monday and they go, it's still all high and I'm still overweight. I don't think it's working.
Right. Yeah, right, yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And it's so ridiculous when we hear it too, right?
Right.
But I can understand from a patient's perspective that, hey, we just did 3 interventions, why don't I feel better?
Yeah.
And so there's an understanding that it's because we're not taking care of the symptom.
Right.
We're taking care of the underlying problem that causes the symptom, and then the body has to heal from that.
Yeah, right. The person has to go through their healing. I think that's the paradigm shift. Right, that's that one thought that has to happen for a patient to really get the full benefit of chiropractic. And again, it's the beauty of chiropractic that, you know, you're learning how to stay healthy rather than get treated when you're sick. Right, this is the thing we hear all the time from people. They look at the wall that's here with all the kids, right, and the infants, and go, why do they have to get adjusted? Because the concept is, why wait till there's damage? The idea is to function at optimal level from the day that you're born.
Especially when you're growing and developing. I would actually say the chiropractic care for the children is actually more important than the chiropractic care for the adults, because the adults' nervous systems are developed, where theirs are still developing.
Right.
Their spine is still
Right.
growing. Like
Right.
when would you stake a tree? You're going to stake it when it's young.
Young, yeah, exactly. As well as the emotional component that is there for children.
There's a
right?
lot of
Children-
anxiety for children right now.
Children, anxiety, stress. Everybody's family dynamic is dysfunctional in some way, right? We all go through it. No one comes through and doesn't get, damaged by their family dynamic. This is just a basic, law of life. But chiropractic can help with clearing out that damage in particular. And how many times people don't realize until we talk to them about it that, hey, if there was something that happened in childhood, I mean, I've told my story, I'm a perfect example of it. If something happened in childhood that wasn't supposed to, something was done to you, the trauma that wasn't supposed to, if you're in a job that you can't stand, if you're with a partner that you can't deal with, there's a lot of stress in the relationship. Our bodies are going to reflect this. And we really recognize in chiropractic that the body crying out is really a call to the person to say, sit down, do some introspection, and look at your life and start to understand that this is a lot more than your neck, right? People come in and say, my neck is killing me. And how many times we reverse that? We say, you're killing your neck. It's letting you know about it. What's going on in your life? What is going on in your life physically? What are you doing? What are you feeling and believing? What are you drinking and eating? All of that, it's bringing awareness to the person that, look, this thing didn't drop in out of the sky, right? Whether it's high blood pressure, neck pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, indigestion, headaches, can't sleep, migraines, dizziness, all of it. It just didn't happen. It was created through every experience in your life. And to just realize that as a patient sets your incredible healing in motion. How many times do we see literally the patient fighting themselves because they're saying, I still have this neck pain, I still have the headache, I still have the hip pain. We know it's there and we understand it's there, but it's not that the body is working against them, they are working against their body. And we know this even today. Even science is now starting to show how much the spirit is involved in our healing. And I really believe that energy, however you want to believe in it, is the only way it can cry out that it's struggling is to make your body hurt. And I really believe that pain is more the gift, not the enemy. If we didn't have pain or the ability to feel pain, we literally would kill ourselves by the time we were 5 years old because you would never know you're hurting yourself.
Right.
Pain is always
It's a warning system.
Yeah.
It's a smoke detector.
Yeah, it's a smoke detector, right? Who shows up at the fire, puts out the alarm thinking the fire is going to go out? Right.
And that's what numbing symptoms
is. And that's what numbing symptoms is, right? That's what Doc Fix Me is. And that's the paradigm shift.
So when you say there's accumulated stress from all the life events and traumas that brought the person to this point, and that creates a state within the nervous system called a subluxated state, and the adjustment clears that out. Maybe so that's less conceptual. What do you mean by what's clearing out?
Yeah, that's a great
I kind of get this vision.
That's
I want to hear your answer, but I get this vision of, like, let's say I gave you an Etch-a-Sketch. Remember the Etch-a-Sketch?
Right.
And it was all dirty. Everybody get all these lines, and you could never make them straight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you do this.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's clear.
And it's clear.
And that's what I envision when you adjust me is happening to my nervous system.
Yeah, same thing when you adjust me. That's really what it is. It's connecting with those things that really have been repressed into us, whether it's an emotional injury, whether it's physical injury, whether it's chemical injury. We go on, right? You're a kid, you fall down, maybe you hit your hip, you hit your low back, you hit your head. 10 minutes later, you're going on. But the memory of that is in the system. And then it keeps going and going and going. And then what if something emotionally damaging was done? A lot of times we don't speak about this enough. What if dad was an alcoholic, or mom was a drug addict, or dad wasn't there in your life, or mom wasn't there, or maybe a parent passed away when you were early, and when you were young rather, and you're still dealing with, the grief of these events and the damage that these events cause. As well as our food and drink that we know is not the best. It's loaded with all sorts of chemicals, preservatives, all these artificial colors, flavors. And we're bringing this in and not even realizing that, okay, this is damage that has stayed with us. And so when we talk about clearing out, and we tell this to our patients, lie down on the table, open up and connect. I really feel that a big problem that prevents people from healing is they're just not connecting with themselves. And what are the things that prevent it? There could be fear. Who wants to go back and connect with these things that were damaging to us in early on in life or even later on in life? We have patients here, and we've had patients that were under spousal abuse. And as they're healing and getting adjusted, they realize, oh my God, what I went through with that really damaged my body. This is why I have my fibromyalgia. This is why I have my migraines. This is why, and I think it's a real missing piece in healthcare.
So do you think like the patient needs to do some self-reflection as they go through care?
I think it's self-reflection and a shift in the paradigm. We were all brought up in this system of wait till you're not feeling good, then go to somebody. They're supposed to do something. You're just a passive recipient. They're supposed to just do something, and whatever this magic is, you feel good. And the whole problem is taken away. Again, it's like showing up at the fire, putting the alarm out. It's introspection really to see that it's a very unhealthy, very codependent system. That system, right? It's not healthy.
It's not even codependent. It's dependent.
It's dependent. Yeah.
So I'm going to play the role of the patient because I can imagine what they're thinking. Let's say there's a patient that did have some trauma, physical and emotional trauma, and they're dealing with chronic anxiety or PTSD, and maybe they're not even aware. But they're struggling. They're not healing. They're stuck, and they're waiting for someone to fix them. And what should they be thinking or doing or being, or who should they be talking to when these things come up? Like, what should the patient's role be if they do want to be an active participant in their healing?
Yeah, definitely. Great question, right? First of all, it is to open up to the fact that this thing happened, right? That's number one, to become aware that, okay, I've been through some trauma. And this trauma, the effects of this trauma are unhealed at this point, right? And then that's where a therapist comes in, because a lot of times where they're getting opened up on the table, right? They're released, they're connected. How many times have we heard? Yeah. People come in and say, oh, I had this dream after the adjustment. Or we've had people say, I went to my car and all of a sudden I was crying for 10 minutes. Or I became aware of what was taking place in my life. And we need support. We need each other to help heal. And I think that's where therapists come in, to be able to verbalize in a safe environment that, okay, this is something that happened to me. I've been getting adjusted. It came up. And, I need to work with this and to deal with this. We have to break the silence, right? We have to break the silence. We've been silent for too long, even in healthcare, and not, addressing that people are people. And like I say, we all have lives and we all get damaged, and helping to bring awareness to the patient that, look, you've been damaged, and we understand this. You came in, your neck pain brought you in, or your back pain, or your headache, or your indigestion. But really, things have happened in your life that have damaged you. That's why we ask them when they come in, what's your stress level? What's the emotion you feel around what you are experiencing? Have you ever been exposed to any toxic chemicals? Is there any abuse in your life? Abuse is rampant in this society and has been for generations. And I think chiropractic has recognized a lot of that really since its inception, that we hold on to our stuff.
Well, people, and my wife is a therapist, and I'm around therapists a lot, and it's a really well-established fact that emotional trauma can be somaticized, and it can become a physical symptom. And then so we live in this society where when something's wrong with a patient's body, they look out the window for help. They look for someone else from the outside to fix the inside. When everything's going right, they look at themselves in the mirror. But it should be the other way around. So when something's not going right, we should be looking in the mirror, and that's the name of this whole thing, is inside out. It's an inside out process. So that may bring things up. And it even goes back to something as simple as just when they get on the table, you said it twice, open up. What people are doing is they're distracted. We live in a time where you could be distracted every single moment of your day and never have to look at yourself.
Yeah.
You could be on your phone, on social media, watching shows, reading and listening to the news, and never have to look at yourself because it's uncomfortable. And when people get on the table and all they're doing is talking about everything other than their body, their health, and their experience, and they're talking about all the things that don't matter, the truth is the likelihood they're getting the most out of that chiropractic visit is very small. Because they're not receptive. It's almost like going to a Christmas party with your hands closed. You're not in a position to receive gift and love. And so when you come in for your visit, lay on the table. Shh. I don't talk during your adjustment. Never. Shh. Breathe. Let's start putting some breath into the body. Let's start tapping back in to this energy that is animating your body. It could be your spirit, your soul, the electrical activity. Let's tap in, let's go in with our breath, and let's be receptive. Dr. P likes to say, be a puddle. Let's be a puddle on the table and receive the care. Then the body can integrate, the nervous system can integrate the care. We're not reaching in to take out your neck pain.
Right.
We're reaching in to give an impulse into the nervous system to tell the brain it is safe. And the brain has the ability, it's malleable. What does that mean? There's a principle called neuroplasticity. So you've been running these patterns almost like a recording that just keeps running and running and running and running. And what we do with the adjustment is it's like a snow globe. We just go in there, we're shaking it all up as long as you're receptive to receiving that adjustment.
Yeah.
So your whole being can be rewired through an upper cervical adjustment because we're so close to the brain, and there are functional MRI studies to show that different parts of the brain light up following an adjustment, and be receptive to receive that adjustment.
Yeah, well said, right? It reminds me of a saying we have in healing work that there is no external cure for an internal problem. And it's going inward. And this is just training. That's why, again, I love chiropractic, because we're training people each and every visit to experience this healing energy or this healing result, this power that we have inside ourselves. And you have to want to open up to that and understand. I remember the first time I got adjusted with this method, I got off the table and I went, there's a whole different way than the way I've been living. There's a whole different way to experience life. There's a whole different energy here. And I was at a point in my life where I was like, there has to be something different besides what I'm going through. And, finding this method in chiropractic to go, oh, there is a different way of being, but, to receive it, to open up to it. And like I said, people sometimes, they'll be fighting themselves to let go of that one thought process that says they're supposed to fix me. And just allow it to go, okay, this is me connecting with this enormous power I have inside myself to heal. And like you say, it's letting go, be a puddle. We tell people, look, put all your stuff in a basket, leave it at the door to the adjusting room. You can pick it up on the way out. You can pick it up. We're not telling you to ignore it. We're not. But when you're on there, let yourself go into that place, because the first time it happens, just like it did with me, that's that aha moment that we talk about. And we've seen this with patients. We talk about this where a patient comes in at a certain level and all of a sudden of understanding, right, and experience, and then all of a sudden at some point in the adjusting, they have that aha moment. They have that where innate wakes up and they've connected.
They see something differently, yes.
And they grasp it and they get off the table and they're like, I don't know what just happened, but I'm different. And that's the point to get to. And that's age independent.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter whether
100%.
you're an infant or 90.
Children actually will have the realization before the adult, because the adult have such fixed mindsets and fixed belief systems. The child is like open and malleable, and then like we see like a little toddler start out like crying and they want to get on the table and they're scared because maybe the experiences at other doctors, and they stay close to mom, and like a month or two later, they're taking the face paper and putting it onto the headrest, and they're climbing on the table and they're climbing on the scales, because their innate is telling them this is good for me.
Yeah.
I like the way this
Right.
feels.
That's the beauty
for
of
me.
innate. That's the beauty of innate.
But to go back to the, I don't mean to cut you off. I just this is how our conversations go. We go so fast.
Right.
There are the brain is a predictor machine. So we think like right now, like you're talking and I'm responding, or I'm talking and you're responding. But the brain is actually predicting the next move based on prior experiences before it's, and then it's after it reacts, like it knows from prior situations. In this situation, I blink, I breathe a little deeper, my heart rate goes a little further up, and then you react. So there's actually an ingrained automatic response. And just like if I was saying, you're listening to the words come out of my
mouth.
But how'd you know I was going to say that? Because your brain is a predictor machine. There's an example of that. But what if I say you're listening to the words coming out of my nose? Right? And so that's really, so when a patient comes into the room, going back to what we were talking about before, and they go and they list out all their symptoms again that they already told us last visit, and they already told us the visit before, and they relive it. They just grind it in. Let's just talk about it again. Like, it's not that we don't care. We care. We have it in your chart. Like we put all of your symptoms in the chart. Not only do we put your symptoms in the chart, we put what they're interfering with, what you want to get out of this care, what are your core values, what activities of daily living that you want to get back to. That's on the screen in front of us every visit. We don't want to always talk about it because it's the race car driver that goes, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, don't hit the wall, don't hit. They hit the wall. What the brain focuses on, you get more of.
You're training your brain to
Go ahead. Yes.
This is what it is, right? You're training your brain. We were all trained. Our brains were all trained. This is why it's so difficult sometimes for people to make that paradigm shift, because all of us were trained as children to focus on the symptom, not on the cause, not on what's happening in life or what has happened in life. And so you every time the person is coming in, my neck hurts, my neck hurts, my neck, and they're just doing that here, but outside the office, I'm sure they're doing it as well.
Sure.
And you're literally forming the neuronal pathways and the connection in the brain for you to be in pain.
It's the predictor machine.
It's the predictor machine, whereas you're
predicting more neck pain.
Right, you're predicting more neck pain.
So what would be a good, a positive reframe that doesn't negate the fact that the patient's suffering?
Right.
What would be a positive reframe for them to come into the office?
I think, suffering is a perfect word. I think you have to reframe to what is suffering, right? Suffering is the awareness that something is going on. There's a value to the suffering. And this is where people can get insulted too, because they feel like we don't care. And it's not that we don't care. We're trying to help them reframe so that they don't have to deal. How many people have been dealing with these things 10, 15 years? We're trying to help them reframe so they don't have to deal with it the rest of their life.
Correct.
And it's not that we don't care. We care deeply. We care deeply enough. How many times in your life, I know how many times in my life, where someone said something that, it caused me to reframe. And they did it because they loved me.
Correct.
Or I do it with a friend or a family member because I love them. Hey, you know what? Maybe you're drinking a little too much, man. What's going on? What's happening here? What are you doing? Why are you fighting with your wife all the time? There's something not right here. It gives that person pause. It's what we call brain blinks in healing work, where you think something's okay, then somebody says something to you, like, oh, my neck is killing me. No, you're killing your neck, right? That's a brain blink. That reframes the brain.
Makes you think for a second.
It makes you think for a second. And that's really the thing for the person to embrace, that you have to change. You're where you're at because you're stuck. You cannot heal without changing. Don't be stubborn on yourself. Don't be resisting your healing. Don't say, well, this is my belief system that I grew up with. I can't shift it, because obviously that's not serving you anymore. Right? And that's when we change. When do we change? And this gets back to suffering. We stop suffering when the pain of suffering is greater than the pain of changing, or the discomfort to change, right? As long as this suffering is not greater than changing, we're not going to change. But once we suffer more and more, how many times have we adjusted somebody and they come back, oh, after you adjusted me, man, my neck was really hurting, or I had this really bad headache, right? And we rejoice in that, not because we're happy that the person had pain, but because it brought awareness to them that, look, you're really suffering. And really in the healing process, some people don't even know they're suffering. They just know they're in pain. And those are two different things, right? Suffering is the awareness that you're creating something in your life to cause this pain. And that's the difference. And that you want to get away from that suffering. We've talked about this, right? We're pain avoidant or suffering avoidant. But really healing is moving into that.
Yeah, it's leaning in.
With the, the understanding that you're going to come out on the other side of this.
Yeah, and I think if the patient shows up to their visits, honoring, of course, how they're feeling, but what about a reframe like, look, I may not be where I want to be yet, but I know every time I come into this office, I'm taking a step in the right direction, and I'm here to heal.
Well, here's the bottom line.
Imagine a patient said that every day. It's no different if a quarterback goes down the field 3 times and throws 3 interceptions.
Right.
And he goes into the huddle the next time with the ball, he goes, all right, guys, I'm going to do everything I can to not throw an interception. He's going to throw number 4.
Right.
They don't think like that. They go, oh,
Right.
okay, that's behind me. Now we got to throw the touchdown. So come in here ready to score.
Talk about what you've been doing to make your life better. How many times do we hear somebody that comes in and says, let me tell you everything I've done and I'm healing?
That's beautiful.
Right?
Love
that's
that. Celebrate
That's
that.
what we're looking for.
What actions have you taken this year to improve your physiology? Even if we have to smell the roses along the way, even if we're not where we want to be yet.
Tell us what's better, not what's still there. Because otherwise, again, you're not focusing on the healing. And what you gain out of, sometimes there's a need there too, right?
Well, a patient may think that we need to know where they hurt to adjust them.
Right, yeah, no.
So that's something that's worth addressing.
Right, that's something that...
Does a location of a symptom ever change how or where you adjust?
No.
Ever?
No.
Never.
No, it's not even, and again, I hope people don't get offended with this. It's not even relevant.
It's not relevant.
To the adjustment.
No.
Because the adjustment is putting out the fire, releasing subluxation.
Well, what's your criteria of where to adjust? How do you, if it doesn't, because let's say somebody doesn't have any symptoms, and then where would we adjust if we adjust based on symptoms? You have criteria that tell you how to adjust a person. What is that criteria for you?
And this is the criteria where they're on the scales, right? And we're looking at where's the head tilted, where's the neck, which side's the neck off, is the shoulder low on one side or the other, the hip, what's the weight from one side to the other. And that's just the physical, right? And we know that. But then once they get on the table, and this was our training as chiropractors, was to feel the actual energy in the person's body, right? I often will tell patients, they go, how do you know where to touch? Because this is subluxation. It's like touching the wall.
Yes.
There's no life in that.
Yes.
It's there.
There's a difference between this and this, and everybody can feel it.
Yes.
And that's what it feels like to us.
And that's what it feels like to us. And they go, well, why do you pick there? Because that's where your body, that's where your innate let me in. It's our innate talking to their innate, right? What's the thing we have to do to heal?
That's why no robots can go do this, right?
No, we're okay. AI is not going to take us. Yeah, absolutely. But, we were taught, I always remember Dr. Violini saying to me, you got to have 10 eyes in your 10 fingers. This is how you have to approach a patient and to understand, we're humans, right? We're interacting with each other constantly. Your energy is interacting with mine right now. My energy is interacting with yours. We're talking, but we're really reacting to each other's energy.
Sure, it's getting louder.
Right, yeah. And that's what happens, even with the patient, is we're responding to their energy is responding to us. And how do we go through an adjustment to where we're feeling connected with all of that, where everything that is resistive disappears, and the person is just experiencing their own energy, their own healing flowing through their body. And it gets back to the one thing, the only thing a person really, to me, has to do, get out of your head. The chiropractor has to be out of their head during the adjusting. And the patient has to be out of their head. Stop thinking that you can get yourself well. You cannot.
Yes.
It's impossible, right? It is impossible. But we have this all-knowing intelligence that comes from however you believe, whether it's a universal intelligence, a creator, a great spirit, wherever it is. this intelligence is moving the entire universe, and it's in our bodies.
It's in our
as
bodies.
an innate intelligence.
And patients have been disempowered by all the commercials on TV.
Totally.
That
Totally.
you're not powerful.
Right.
That it's all from the outside.
Right. If you grew up, right, like saying you're watching TV, they're telling you you have no role in this, just take this pill. You grew up in a dysfunctional family system, it disempowers. Sometimes our schools disempowered us, our religions, our faith, all that can be disempowering to some degree. And to take a look at it, that this is what our life has been. But all that disempowerment is producing that subluxated state.
Yeah.
And to understand that this isn't just a philosophy, this thing of subluxation, this subluxated state is real in everybody.
It's real.
Right? People ask us, who should
We can measure it.
Who should I refer? And it's like, okay, well, maybe you have a friend that has neck pain. The reality of it is everyone's walking around subluxated to some degree. Everyone can benefit from
Especially in 2025.
Especially in 2025. And everybody can experience. Like I said, I remember for me, the first time I had that innate connection experience, that I was like, oh my God, I don't have to suffer anymore. Didn't mean all my symptoms were gone. My spine was still really crooked. I still had the bad scoliosis. I still had the food allergies, the depression, the anxiety. But it was hope, right? Like your book is, The Gift of Hope. It was hope that this can all change. And I still remember that chiropractor's words saying to me, you can heal.
You can heal.
And I was like, I had been under chiropractic care for 16 years prior to that.
Right.
And they had never said that. It was just for the ache or the pain.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I could feel my spine straightening. I could, so.
Yeah, so when we try to like position the adjustment as like, well, instead of taking Advil, I'm gonna go get an adjustment. Right. That's just not how it's gonna work.
Right.
It's no different than if someone breaks their arm and goes to the orthopedic, and the orthopedic pins it, puts a plate on it, and puts it in a cast. Doc, it still hurts. You didn't fix it.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to heal, and we do an adjustment, and it sets the healing in motion. And for some people, depending on the breadth of the injury, how long it's been there for, their lifestyle, and their stress levels, that's what's going to determine the time necessary for them to heal. And I'll tell, and kind of coming full circle back to this principle of time.
Yeah.
I think I told you this story. I was a newer practitioner. It was 2008. So I was 30 years old, and I was adjusting a lot of people already at that point in my career. And I was bent over a table, and all of a sudden, my legs, I started getting electric symptoms in my legs. And I literally could not stand. I went from adjusting 60 people a day to 6. And I knew all the doctors in town here. I got the MRI and all the things. And I had herniated a disc in my back at 30. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
Sure.
And I literally had to put a stool in every room and sit down when I wasn't adjusting. And here I am, the young chiropractor, now getting this experience.
Right.
And it was February. And I remember I'd go home and I would just go right into bed.
Right.
And it took till October for me to be, and then by December of 2008, my wife and I had hiked 26 miles up to 14,000 feet in Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
But earlier that year, I couldn't stand.
Yeah.
And I think God gave me that experience to be an empathetic and a compassionate doctor, and to understand what the darkness feels like of not knowing if you'll ever get better and what your life is going to be.
Right.
So I can relate. We can both relate.
Right.
We both walked through that path.
Right.
But if I was 30 years old and in excellent shape and had access to all this information, all these doctors, and it took me from February to October, there is a principle of time.
Yeah.
Some tissues just take time. And if you keep doing the right thing with enough time and repetition, the body's going to respond. How could you eat well for 9 or 10 months and not be healthier? How could you exercise for 9 or 10 months and not be healthier? How could you get the level of chiropractic care that you and I provide for 9 or 10 months and not be healthier? It's a law. It's all possible.
Yeah. Yeah, to not heal is impossible, right?
If you do the right things and you remove some things.
Well, that's what, right? We've said this to so many people that, look, if you stay with it, you're going to heal. It's impossible not to heal as humans. It's impossible. but you have to give it time. You just have to give it time. And that really is the thing, because we've been misled through this pill culture. And, you know, in some ways the whole nation is on drugs. It's just rather whether you do prescription, recreation, or over the counter. Everybody's on. So I'll be going to Thanksgiving. I guarantee I'm the only one sitting at the table that is not on some sort of medication. And that's just it. And it's because of living a different lifestyle and understanding that we heal from within, not from without.
Yeah.
There's nothing outside of us that heals the inside, right? Anyone on a medication, and I'll tell patients this, ask the next time you go for your appointment, is there a deficiency of this substance in my body, which is why I need it? There's no deficiency of any medication in a person's body. The medicine is just there. I understand the purpose of it, but there's no healing in that. There's no healing
and sometimes the medications are keeping the people alive, and so we're not telling people to stop taking their medication.
Exactly.
You know, I heard a medical doctor once say, you have to earn the right to get off your medicine. You do. You have to get healthy. When you get healthy, you get off the medicine.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of patients that we've seen get off of medication with their doctors, of course.
Yeah.
So I think we gave them a lot to think about this month and chew on. And if there's something that we spoke about that brought something up for you inside, you can certainly bring it up on your next visit, and we're happy to answer any questions you have. And if you've gotten to this point in the video, we appreciate you. We appreciate your engagement. This only goes to our patients, so we want to thank you for allowing us to care for you. But if you feel that this conversation would benefit someone in your life, a family member or a friend who is suffering or not suffering yet, and we just want to keep them well, spread the love. Share the video. Send them the link. It's okay. And we look forward to seeing you on your next visit. Thank you, Dr. P. This was great.
Thank you, Dr. A, as always. And thank you to all our patients.